Live from New York, it's the show that just spent 20 minutes reading Bill Belichick's response to CBS
That was a
Sunday
long
morning.
Response.
Yes.
That's more than he ever said in his 20 years.
Also, the question we've all been asking, how'd the lucky couple meet? We finally got official confirmation.
Yeah.
It had been speculated.
Yeah, to Palm Beach.
Homework help on a Palm Beach flight.
I agree.
But we're starting with the end for the Bucks. End of the game, end of the season, and maybe the end of Giannis in Milwaukee. We'll begin at the end of the game, where Haliburton's father walked onto the court with his Haliburton towel. That's a nice touch. And taunted Giannis after the Pacers' victory. Later, Giannis and the senior Haliburton went head-to-head. None of this a good look. Your reaction, Brew, to everything.
Yeah, first of all, I love Giannis. I mean, the dude is great. Like, that whole press conference, 15 minutes, whatever it was phenomenal. He did not. The dude, what he averaged, 30?
In this series, 33, 15, and 6.
Yeah.
33, 15, and 6.
He could have easily passive-aggressively thrown his teammates under the bus because he was asked about it. He didn't. He credited his teammates. Like, the dude is great. So, as far as this with John Haliburton, 3 things come to mind. One, why obviously it's a terrible look and a terrible decision by John Haliburton that he apologized for. His son even had to be the adult and the father and, apologize for his dad, said he disagreed with him. But you're a 45 to 50-year-old man, whatever he is, acting like you're a player. Like, why is your mentality like you're competing with Giannis? I get you want your son to beat him. Most adults would go out there and you see a great player like Giannis and be like, man, great series. Like, good luck next year, whatever, great job, keep your head up. You go at him like this. This is a parent who kind of feels like he's competing, like living in the league, or I'm competing with all these players too. You shouldn't be talking trash like that. Secondly, and this is where the league needs to look at some type of discipline. He put Giannis, and by extension the league, in a terrible position.
Yes.
Because the normal reaction from just a normal, regular human being, not to mention a heat of the moment, just lost a tough series, somebody jumps up in your face, the normal reaction might be to grab him, smack him, whatever. And if Giannis does that, he would look terrible, and it would be a negative mark on his entire career. Like, and he put Giannis in that
for
position.
Pushing a ladder once. If he pushes an old man.
I mean, even if Giannis had just grabbed him, because I don't want to hit him, but I'm upset, and you grab him, it would have been a negative on Giannis and, by extension, the league. And then thirdly, and this is one of the worst things, it's all bad, we should be celebrating his son who scored 6 points in the last minute to lead a comeback in regulation to get it to overtime, then scored 5 points in the last 17 seconds, took Giannis off the dribble for the game-winning layup. We're not even talking about Tyrese. Because you wanted to go out there and act like a 17-year-old, you are taking the spotlight off of your son, who had two phenomenal moments at the end of this game. I mean, so it's just bad all around. I think the league should bring discipline. I think John Haliburton should not be able to sit front row for the rest of the playoffs.
Wow, specific.
Maybe, I'm serious, specific.
You're the best.
And I think fine the Pacers for letting a fan run on the court. No fan can just run on the court and get in the players' faces and stuff like that.
There seems to be, if there's a little bit of a ruckus, the security comes right out.
Yeah.
But at the end of the game, it's like a boxing match. Like everyone just come on in, whoever you are.
Anybody that has sat, I don't mean to sound annoying here. If you've sat courtside or close.
Oh,
courtside,
excuse me.
No, that's not what I was about to say. That's not what I was about to say. The one kind of demographic of customer that is allowed pregame, halftime, whatever, to kind of meander on the court is famous parent. So like Ja's dad, T, you know what I mean? He is, when I was at that Lakers-Grizzlies game, he was basically in the Lakers layup line telling Bronny which, things to do, whatever. And it was all, I think the in-arena security probably better than the opposing team knows this is, our star guy's dad, whatever. And we are seeing more and more like really involved NBA dads, the way we used to see quarterback dads, you know what I mean? Where they're travel with it, and that all can be good. But I want to echo everything Bruce said. And just a general rule of thumb, and I feel badly at times for Patrick Mahomes in this regard. Family members of very famous people should never make themselves the main character of their famous relative's movie. It's not to say you can't be famous on your own right or, have your own thing. But it is so unfair to that guy, and it is pretty rare that it's the parent doing it. And that's also what makes this really unfortunate. There was an incident, it was involving Russ years ago and a fan in, I don't want to say it's Utah if I'm wrong, but I think it was Utah, saying something, it was an older guy, saying something really offensive to Russell Westbrook. And I just remember thinking, man, we always think about as a parent, what you would say to your kid. I can't imagine how embarrassing it is for that guy's kid, that my dad, you know what I mean, is out there acting a fool. But in this instance, the kid is the star of the other team. I agree with Bruce's other point, which is it would have been, in my opinion, totally reasonable for Giannis to put his hands on the guy. Particularly, I trust Giannis implicitly, if he doesn't know instantly that's Tyrese's dad. If you just think some guy has come on the court and is in your face waving a flag or waving a towel, whatever it is, taunting you, not that Giannis has to be afraid, but it's like, nah, man, like this is, you have crossed the line. And I think that the last piece of it, Wilds, is just from a hoops perspective. And I assume Tyrese's dad knows a ton about basketball. Obviously, Tyrese is a great guy, so that makes you think that Tyrese's dad is, good father. The last guy who deserves to be taunted is Giannis. Giannis conducts himself with grace and class, and he was awesome. You know what I mean? Not that this ever, but let's just say it was from the sideline. It even wouldn't have made sense. Even if he hadn't come on the court, if after that series, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not like Giannis talked a bunch of trash, then played poorly, and so I hated all of it.
I wonder if Giannis, I agree, obviously, no one deserves to be taunted, but maybe Giannis was the only person on the Bucks that the senior Haliburton could talk to. Here's what I wonder. It's a very similar to my take on the Bills GM, where he kind of blew up, and I'm like, you know what? I think there's an undercurrent of pressure that the Bills feel to win. I wonder if there's an undercurrent in the Haliburton family of, you know what? Someone's got to fight for my guy. He just won the game, like you said, and he tweeted after the game, overrate that. And this is he was overrated. He was benched. So this is obviously in reaction to the Athletic article that came out, I think it was like last week, most overrated player, 14%. It's not even like a small thing. And that is on the heels of he had a slow start. He didn't get any run in the Olympics. And
I seriously disagree with that, just by the way.
No, totally.
Haliburton is great. But
I felt like there is an undercurrent of, and I'm not trying to defend the guy, but I'm trying to put myself in his shoes. Like, man, my son is one of the best players in the entire world. And he's been getting ripped for the better part of a year. And there's no off on the father switch. I don't care where your son goes. It's not, of course it is, an inappropriate reaction.
But you can do it there's a limit to everything. He could have been on the sideline waving that towel. Yeah, that's my son. Overrate that. Like, you could have just stayed. You just didn't have to get in an opposing player's face. That's really all we're saying. I agree with you. I hear you.
Tyrese's mom is like, what is happening here?
She's looking at Giannis like, please don't. Please do not hit him. Please don't break him in half.
Before the drama, the Pacers did come back in overtime, courtesy of Haliburton blowing past Giannis. to give the Pacers the lead. It's another first-round loss for Giannis, who averaged 33 and 15 this series. He was asked about his future. How does this series impact Giannis's future?
Well, it probably impacts it greatly, especially because even if you are the most optimistic as one can possibly be about the recovery of Damian Lillard, who we'll all root for, next year's off the board. You know what I mean? Even if you think he's going to get back to being vintage Dame, it's still next year's gone.
Yep.
And that's, another year of Giannis's prime. And I think Giannis is, I'm going to use Giannis as like my, not test case, but my go-to example when Wilds tries to do the team wins or an individual player stat thing, because I don't think he feels that way about Giannis, and I don't think anybody does. And if you look at Giannis's numbers, when they won the championship, it was 21 games, he was 30, 13, and 5. In the playoffs since then, he's played 20 games. He's better, the same, like field goal percentage a little worse, assists up. Like Giannis has been an A-double-plus player.
He might be better.
Right. I think he's better. The numbers say, he's not quite as efficient, but better and everything else. But the team just loses all the time. They haven't won. And so, Giannis, I don't think there's another level. And I don't think there needs to be. You know what I mean? Like, he is a consensus top 2 player in the league for the last 6 years, and he has maintained it. So, if he wants to have any chance of winning, he has to leave. He's not obligated to do it. And if he just says, you know what, I think we can, in 5 years, we can compete again. I'm still going to be great, and this is what I want. More power to him. But if his number one goal is to not have playoff runs end, before we get to May, then he's got to ask out.
I won't kill him either way. I really respect it. Remember Allen Iverson always said in Philadelphia, I want to win, of course, but I want to win here. Yep. I'd rather stay here and not win than get traded somewhere on the stack team and win or whatever. So if Giannis says the same thing like Westbrook when he stayed in OKC, I'm with that. I respect that. But it really comes down to what Giannis wants, Nick. Does he want, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, first ballot. He's going to be viewed as, a legend.
Yes, a legend.
Is that enough for him? Or is he like, man, I want to be top 10 discussion. Why can't I be whatever. To get to that discussion, some people might say it's unfair. Just look at, the stats or the individual performance. To get in that discussion, you need multiple rings, at least 2. That's Elijah Wine's the only one I think in that. Wilt. Yeah. And they're the only ones in the discussion with 2. So if he really wants that, then like Nick said, he's got to ask out because they don't have their draft picks coming up. They don't have, could lose a couple key players, Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez, the free agency. Dame is going to be out. They don't have really much money and even when guys leave.
Drew, to your point, he said, I listened to this on a podcast recently, I think before the season in an interview, that if I finish my career with just one championship, I will feel like I failed. So he has said, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, he has said that, like, he looks at this as, I have to win more. Doesn't mean he feels like he necessarily has to leave.
Why wouldn't he point to LeBron? If I'm him, why wouldn't you say LeBron's got 4? I want to get at least 4. Why wouldn't you do that?
I mean, yeah, I 2 things. One, and I know you're just pulling it from memory, because I think I saw the same thing. Didn't he say he would fail because of but he also mentioned his teammates in that quote? Did you hear the same thing?
Yeah.
So I just think it's an interesting wrinkle. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to go to Miami and win one.
No.
It almost felt like,
oh, I didn't read it like that at all.
I need to win for these guys.
I agreed. My point is the idea that he feels, well, I've accomplished everything. He doesn't feel that way. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I've won MVPs.
Right.
I've scored 50 in the finals. I've won a championship. Every box that there is to check, I've checked. So why move? It doesn't seem like he feels like he's checked all of the winning boxes he wants to check.
Case in point, I feel like Durant, and this is not a criticism of Kevin Durant, I feel like he feels like I'm good. I mean, I want to compete and be great, but I've won my MVPs. I won my championships. I'm good. I don't think Giannis feels that way.
So what if, I know they're in a tough spot. They don't have their draft picks. I don't know about where they are with the apron, but obviously Dame's got a huge salary that really constricts them. And you mentioned, why doesn't he follow LeBron? I think that is obviously a path. But if he looks back at the last few champions, the Celtics have Tatum and Brown. They're not going anywhere. Steph and Draymond stayed. They won their championships. Jokic and Jamal Murray stayed and they won their championships. He won his championship. He just saw Dame kind of be a legend in Portland, reluctantly leave and have it go sideways. Do you think there's, I don't know how he thinks. The Durant thing, I think, is almost a bad example.
No, it is. It hasn't worked out.
Or then you're just nomadic and you don't really have a home, and then you're just this great player.
Yeah, but the LeBron example is a great one.
But what's the other one?
But I wouldn't even. When I said LeBron, I'm just saying look like shoot for 4. Like I think LeBron was looking at Jordan earlier, shoot for 6. Like I'm not saying join a super team. Like I think Houston is the place, and it's a risk. I think Dame's going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't think this has really damaged his legacy at all. But it is, like, when he was in Portland, there was a feeling, man, if he just didn't have enough. If he got with another great player and he was the second best guy, he'd win some rings. Well, now you went to Milwaukee and
we never got to see it, though, because Giannis didn't play in last year's playoffs. And we don't think they would have done it, but we never got to see them in a playoff run.
No, that's fair, but they,
it didn't feel like they were on the cusp.
Right, but so it's a risk. Durant, I applauded Durant when he went to Brooklyn. Like, hey, he wants to prove people, whether this was how he felt, I felt it. He wants to prove to people I can get rings without Golden State. It hasn't worked out. But it hasn't killed Durant's legacy. So I don't think the Giannis isn't dropping.
No.
If he goes to Houston or somewhere else and doesn't win, nobody's dropping him. Yeah. It's just all he can do is rise. So I think
I think it's tough if I was Giannis and listening to the media critique, let's say, and Durant has mentioned, or no, Dame used to mention this when he was in Portland. You get ripped if you leave your team, you're giving up.
Yes.
And you get ripped if you stay. Why aren't you going for it?
I think Giannis, and I know we have to move on. Brew and I were saying before the show, I think he is the least hateable NBA superstar. I don't know if it makes him the most likable, but if you, Brew said it, I'll misquote Brew, or if you hate Giannis, it's something wrong with you, not something wrong with him. So I think he has such a high approval rating and has performed at such a high level that I don't think if he left, people would be like, Giannis trying to take the easy way out. I just don't think they would do that.
He gave him 12 years.
Yeah.
Kareem only gave him, I think, 7.
Yeah, that's right.
Heading to the Garden. The Knicks have not clinched a playoff series in Madison Square Garden in 25 years and counting. New York loses to the Pistons with the game falling apart late. Josh Hart and Brunson left the game with injuries, and then watch from the scorers table as Tibbs kept his timeouts, couldn't get them in. Is this loss on Tibbs?
Look, in hindsight, certainly it was a bad decision. I think in the moment, Tibbs is thinking there's going to be a dead ball. Yeah. They'll get right in there. I want to save the timeout. This game is coming down to the wire. So I understand that. And my ultimate answer is I don't think you put the loss on Tibbs. This was bad. Obviously, Brunson's great in the clutch. You want to get him in there. But they may have lost. There's no guarantee they were going to win this game with those two guys in there. This is a really close series. So I don't put it all on Tibbs. It just didn't work out in hindsight.
Yeah, and listen, they lost because Jalen Brunson had his first really bad playoff game as a Knick. You know what I mean? Like he was averaging 33 and 9 in a series that every game's come down to the final moments. So when he and Karl Anthony Towns go 9 of 30 from the field combined, you're supposed to lose. It was kind of a miracle's too strong, but it was surprising that it was that close late, despite he and Towns not having it. And whenever I see something like this, I always think, and I've never seen it happen in the NBA, so I guess nobody thinks like me, like, why does nobody ever practice that just fire the ball off your opponent so it goes out of bounds? Because you see this sometimes where you need a stoppage, you can't get one, and it's like, we don't want to foul, we don't want to put them on the line, we don't want to burn a timeout. I'm like, that's easy to do, but nobody does that, so set that aside. It's just my own weird brain. I felt the same way watching it. Like, you don't want to, if they had 2 timeouts left, I'd be highly critical.
Right.
But that last timeout, because of the ability to advance the ball, is so important. Like in the Lakers game, that was huge, that they used their timeout that ended up being the Minnesota Challenge, but because they used it thinking, we need to advance the ball. It's going to be our last possession. Then they don't have one, and then all of a sudden, it's kind of a heave, not a heave, but you're in transition. So I got why he wanted to save it, and he had to think, it's going to be an out-of-bounds call. And so would the smarter thing at some point, do you take a foul and put Duren on the line? I don't know. It's tough. So I think it's just their two best players didn't play that well, and Detroit's here to fight.
Final 18 possessions for Detroit. They scored 25 points. The Knicks only had 5 stops. As soon as Jalen went out, and it's the fourth quarter, you weren't getting a 100% Jalen Brunson back into the game. And if you can't stop him on defense anyway, a one-legged
Brunson's not
going to work.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.